welcome to your day off. My name is Corey, and of course, sit with my best bud, Tony. What's up, man?
What's going on, bro?
Hey, we're at BTC.
Yeah, man. Today's interview, it's an area that we've been talking about hitting a lot more.
Right.
And this person's at the top of the game.
No doubt. So this year we kind of committed to talking to more barbers.
Yeah.
And we're slowly like digging in there, right?
Oh, man. But this particular person, the story, I almost gave it away.
Yeah,
but
right. It's okay. Keep going.
You know, the story is pretty, phenomenal in the sense of how she became. See, I gave it up.
Again. That's right. I caught up.
Became a barber.
And
I am just so impressed and the resiliency she had to stick through what, she had to go through in order to become, a star.
I love it. I mean, I guess we can say this. We can say that, I believe this is true. If not, I apologize to whoever I don't know I'm apologizing to, but I think this is the first female barber that we've had on the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yep.
I can't think of any. Damn, if I forgot somebody, that's going to be bad, isn't it?
Thank God for the power of edit.
No, touche. So should we get in?
Yeah.
So today's guest, we've been kind of talking back and forth for, once again, it seems like everybody takes a year to get on on her proverbial couch, but we've been talking to her for about a year or so to get her on the podcast. So finally today at BTC it happens, and BTC brings big names.
Yep.
You want it or you want me to take it?
No, you do it.
So today our guest is the incredible Sofie Stay Gold, also known as Stay, and also some people call her Miss Gold. So Sofie's with us today, and I can't wait to get into her story because, like you said, it's the build-up was pretty cool.
Oh, man. It wasn't even, her... I'm not even going to try to explain her story. Go ahead.
I mean, she's here, right? She can explain her story.
Yeah. But I'm so fascinated by it because I want to get into it.
Well, let's do it, man.
Yeah.
So, Miss Sofie Stay Gold, welcome to your day off.
Thank you for having me. I know it's been crazy that we've been talking about this for a year. So to finally make it happen, it's been good. And
I think go ahead.
And I was just say I missed out because you guys connected in BarberCon, and I would miss BarberCon because I wanted to go scuba diving with my son. So we went scuba diving and I missed BarberCon, but
that's right. We had Maddie Conrad. It was fine.
Yeah, I know.
That's cool.
But so when he said, we met, with Sofie, I was like, because I've been a big fan as well.
Thank you.
I feel like oh man, I missed out. But I get
Here
to meet
we
you.
are.
Yes.
Here we are.
We made it.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, so where are you from?
Originally, I grew up in Orange County, but now I'm in LA area where everything kind of unfolded. We're a lot bigger and all the challenges and everything like that.
Did you start doing hair in Orange County?
Mm-hmm. That's where I started. Yep.
That's cool, man.
So, let's talk about your journey. Because how old were you when you got into hair, or when you found?
I was 21 actually. So I was already, I think, in college for like two and a half years, but I was actually trying to pursue psychiatry and business admin, just like the regular stuff. The business admin was actually a choice that my family had wanted. It was kind of like they wanted us. It's a very traditional thing about Asian cultures is just like they want us to be in law or medicine or some sort of work, So I think a lot of times I have a lot of like people who ask that are from Asian cultures, like, how do I deal with this? Like, my family doesn't believe that this is a real thing. And I'm like, it's one of those things where you have to kind of like, you have to do something and accomplish something so that you can show them. And that's the only way they would understand. So me and my aunt actually had a huge falling out at the time. It was like my second year of college. And it was probably the first time on my own to be able to decide like what I wanted to do. And so I started taking classes in different things. And then I knew psychology was the one thing that stood out the most. Like something about like how people behave and situational kind of psychology was like something I was super, super interested in. So I did a couple courses by my second year in that and realized that this journey would have been like a 15-year journey. And I'm like, I don't know if I could be in school for that long, honestly. Like, I'm a horrible test taker. I don't know why that defines like how you succeed and that kind of stuff. So by my third year of college, or like second and a half to third, this is where I believe you meet certain people for a reason, right? It could be small, it could be large. So one of my friends around that time, she's like, hey, can you dust off my ends? I was like, I don't know how to cut hair, but that sounds fun. Like, let's try it.
Yeah, let's give it a go.
You know, we went to my mom's house, and I was using paper cutting shears, and we just
the orange handled ones.
Yeah, the big ones. With the big plastic handles. Yes, exactly that. And I just trimmed off the ends, and that was it. And she was just kind of like, hey, it came out okay. Like, why don't you go to hair school, since you're kind of like in between, like like not being able to decide what you want to do yet. Right. And I'm like, doing hair, like that is just. It was just such a strange thought, because I never before that ever even thought like this could be a thing. So after that, I enrolled, and it took about maybe like half a semester to get in, because the waiting list for it was so long.
To get into hair school?
Yeah, to get into cosmetology school, actually.
Did you tell your parents, or did they get upset?
I told my mom, I was like, Mom, I think I'm going to do hair. And I think everyone just didn't really know how to react to that. But a lot of my other family were just like, so you want to work like in a hole in the wall, like for the rest of your life, or like you want to do hair. It was more negative talk than it was like supportive. It was just like, it was like, if that's what you choose to do, I don't want to be involved. Like, go for it.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But you're saying they weren't disowning you. They just didn't want to be involved in your
that
decision.
Choice.
Right. Got it. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
So that way, if you fail, then it's all on you.
Right.
You have nothing to do with it.
Exactly. It's like, I told you so coming later, you know what I mean? So
They were setting you up?
They were setting you up, yeah.
Hey, who's saying I told you so now?
That's the best part, yeah.
Right. It's amazing to me that, like, I mean, we're going to fast forward way till, this moment, but like, just like if she didn't ask you to cut your hair, we don't get to know Sofie, right?
Right. It could have never happened,
Like the proverbial
I really don't
sliding
know.
doors, right? Wow.
Yeah, and after that, like, we drifted apart. Like, I never saw her again, but she comes up a lot in the story of just like how I got into it, and it's just crazy.
Dude, you owe her like a Twinkie or something.
I know. I need to take her out to lunch or something.
Right, no doubt, man. That's incredible.
Yeah.
It's funny because we had this conversation the other day where how just small things that can just totally alter your life, the rest of your life, right?
Right.
Without those kitchen shears, you would not be sitting here with us right now.
Could you imagine if the universe was like, oh yeah, we're gonna make Sofie like this mega star, and then you're like, there was no shears in the kitchen, right? Just missed that. The universe goes, psych.
Yeah.
She would have grabbed a candle and a comb or something like.
Start burning the hair.
So you started hair school. Was it a natural thing for you, or did you fight?
Let's see. So I went to cosmetology school, and honestly, I mean, you're just kind of going through, just trying to checklist off the stuff that you gotta like fill out. All that kind of stuff. Right. But even then, I was always drifting more towards short men's hair cutting, or just short women's cuts even. Nobody wanted to do any of the short cuts, so they'd always give me all the clipper cuts, like all the students. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that was already the start of like something that I was more into than doing, color or any of the other stuff. So I think my interest had formed even since beauty school, but I didn't understand what it was until about my second year after being licensed.
That's pretty gutsy, because a lot of times when you're in hair school, you really don't know anything. So you tend to stay toward what's going to be the easiest and not put yourself out there. And short haircut and men's haircut and clipper cuts, I mean, that takes a lot of skill.
Oh, for
sure.
So,
at that stage of the game, you know what I mean? People, I'll just stick with my one length.
I mean,
yeah.
We work with hairdressers now that won't do men's cuts or clipper cuts or whatever. It's kind of amazing, especially what's happened in the last 5 years. But we'll get into that later, right? Yeah. But that's pretty incredible. Right?
Yeah. So that's we're ahead of the game. Like, okay, I'll take it. You know what I mean?
Well, maybe her perm wraps just sucked. So
my perm wraps suck. I just feel like I've only done one French braid in my life, and it was in beauty school, and that was hard. Being able to move in that small motion, it was really difficult for me.
So you have no idea how Queen of the South does it, right?
No, I mean, she's amazing, and I tell her all the time, like, what you do is like really spectacular, because I could not even figure out like how that even happens.
I can't visualize it.
I mean, I can barely do a straight braid versus they be doing all the curls and all that kind of stuff.
And by the way, like symmetrical.
Yeah. Right? It's so symmetrical.
It's so crazy to me, right?
Yeah. you're looking at me like it's definitely crazy.
Yeah.
So, all right. So from cosmetology school, did you go like assist? Did you just start doing hair? Did you? I mean, what was that transition?
That's what they told us, right? When you get out of beauty school, you find someone that you assist and you go about it that way. So I had searched like all sorts of salons for any assisting positions, and the requirements were pretty tough. Like I couldn't get hired as an assistant, and if I did try, there would be places that are like, you got to do a root touch up in like 7 minutes or less, you know, as an assistant, because they work like heavy amounts of people, I guess. Yeah. And so I just couldn't find a spot. So I ended up working at, let's see, it was one of those like grand salons where they just have like a shitload of stations, you know, like 60 plus stations. And I half rented a chair with a friend at the time. And it was just, I mean, when you're new, it's so hard to build clientele. So I didn't really last that long.
So you weren't assisting there. You were actually like, you had a chair.
I tried.
You're giving it a go.
Yeah. And that was before, that was a little bit after. I think the first job I had out of beauty school was at a chain. It was like a 15-minute chain.
Like one of the mall chains or something?
Yeah.
That's funny. It takes me back. When I graduated from school, and a guy that we went to school with, he opened up. It was called International Barbers, right? He opened up this, but it was like a slash between a barbershop and a hair salon. Mm-hmm. And the first week, I'm just out of school, and you'll hear on the story sometimes. We cheated our way through school a little bit. So I'm on the floor, and literally after the first week, I had 2 clients come back at the same time, and they both were crying, and I'm like, oh my God, I need so much work. So I went and found a place to assist and spent a year assisting, and that was a nightmare. I can't imagine. Already you're like investing into a chair to start your career without assisting.
It's tough with no guidance.
Right. So the other 60 stylists there, like none of them were like, oh, Sofie, let me show you this thing or that.
No, they were very kind of cliquey, honestly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, everyone just had like their own groups, and it was just like it wouldn't. I've never seen anyone just like interact. It was just very like closed off little groups.
That's brutal.
Yeah.
We can do better.
You had your buddy.
Yeah, especially when you're new and you're like barely out of school. I don't know if anyone would just want to help you like that.
Yeah. Again, like in hair school, I mean, in cosmetology school, and I was gutsy because you're like, give me the short haircuts, give me the men haircut. Now all of a sudden here you are again in a gutsy move. You know what I mean? So that speaks a lot about your character. You're not, you ain't afraid.
You can't be, right?
Right. So how long were you there?
I was there for a few months. Like it was quick. Yeah. But I was at the chain spot for also like 2 months. I realized right away too. It was just like, okay, if these 15-minute haircuts are. The one thing, I mean, there is a benefit, I think, in working in like a high volume place like that is like you are also building muscle memory of just like how to hold clippers or, kind of speed through the motion, but you sacrifice quality, of course,
Sure.
So I was there for 2 months, and then I left there, and I think that was wrapping up around, because it was like at least a year, so I must be missing a couple more spots. I even tried to work at a Cool Cuts for Kids salon. I was like, that would have been a nightmare. Glad that you didn't call me back. But I was literally just trying to find anything and So approaching that year, I was like, okay, before I give this all up, let me find a barbershop. And that's kind of where we used to look up jobs about Craigslist at the time. Yeah, right. You look up. And I found this shop in Orange County, and it was it just opened up, and they were looking for people, and it was a cosmetology friendly barbershop because the owner was a Cosmo. And so I was like, oh, perfect, and then I set up with him in an interview and another spot. And this other spot had been there for like 11 years. It was like a neighborhood shop. This is the place that my mom was talking about, $7 haircuts, and it's just a small little hole in the wall, So I went to try out there. First, I got an interview there. They made me cut for about a week. They're like, we just want to see where you're at and kind of see, when you get here, and you get hired, you're going to cut like us. We're going to tell you what to use. And it was just like a whole system. And so I was there for about a week, and they kind of just didn't really give me anything yet. So then the other spot, I got the interview, and he's like, great, like as long as you're comfortable, like I can work with that. I don't care how long you take. I don't care if you use a weed whacker, as long as the clients are happy and the job is done. And I'm like, cool. So I got hired at the second one, just because the process was just much faster. The other one was just kind of going back and forth. So I'm actually really glad that it worked out with the second one, because he allowed us to kind of learn at a regular speed, not have to like tell you like, hey, you got to cut this way. It was more open creatively to just kind of like do it as you wish and just kind of figure it out. And so I started there, and that's kind of where I actually learned a lot of the barbering. I was there for about 4 years before I moved on.
Wow. And so at the second one, how many women were there?
It was just me.
You were the only girl.
It's consistently throughout those 4 years. I think by the second or third, we might have had one, but no one really stayed as long.
How was it like? I don't know how to really say this, but I'll just say it out, and then you can do with it what you will. But like, how was it like joining like boy culture?
It was a little tough, honestly, at first, because I think I was already like super shy to talk to even like regular people. So now to do it in a work setting where it is all guys for the most part, it was a little bit more tough. And one of the things that my boss actually said at the time, he's like, just wanted to give you a heads up. Like, you might hear some things that might make you feel,
right?
Yeah. And he gave me a heads up, and I'm like, oh, it's all good. Like, it's all like, I don't take that kind of stuff like too serious anyways. And so I think most people that get into it, there is a whole nother layer of just conversation. And also too, it's like, it messes up a lot of vibes for, I think, a lot of old school barbershops too, because it's like they have to filter through certain things or whatever, knowing that somebody's there, somebody's mom, somebody's whatever. So it was a little tough of just like finding like a common ground of like what to talk about with guys. So that was a struggle for me at first, because it's like I could do the haircut, but then I won't talk. And then vice versa. I couldn't do both at the same time. So it took a while to kind of find like a series of questions that you could just ask people to where you can find something in common and kind of go off of that. Yeah.
Right. And what about just like the conversation that's going on around you? Like the
Honestly,
shucking up and stuff?
Yeah, honestly, it didn't really bother me. If anything, more people just got into the conversation and talked about it as a whole, you know.
Right.
That was cool.
Did you feel that it was harder to build a clientele than the guys?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. There was a series of like encounters that I had in there that where my coworkers saw it all happen, and I don't even think they knew how to handle it, you know, where it was just like this one dude came in, he's like, how I had just finished, so it didn't look like I wasn't doing anything all day. It was just like the guy just left, like, so yeah, my chair's open, you know, and he's like, why is your chair open? You know,
because you're not sitting in
right.
it.
He's like, how long have you been cutting? And at the time I was like, oh, like 2 years. And he's like, that's okay, I'll go somewhere else. So that was one. Another one was,
So if you were a dude, you don't think he ever asked those questions?
oh no, I would never ask that question. I just don't know why they would, you know, like I don't know. But I mean, to give them like the benefit of the doubt, is just like maybe they had a really bad experience with one, so they just kind of assume like they're just not skilled or whatever. You know, I try not to like think too deeply into it. It's like there must be some bad past experience. But then another guy was like, can I get a dude? Like just straight up. Can I get a dude? And then another one said the same thing. And even though the guy that we had that was available was a student, I'm talking about like a student barber, he'd rather go to that guy than give me a chance.
Wow.
So that's, you know, and it happens to, I mean, everybody, no matter where you live. Like every time I've met and talked with people from different parts, like that is something that still happens. And if I were to go to a random barbershop and just start picking up clients, I will still deal with it. I know that.
Yeah. Like if like your reputation didn't precede you, like if you just went in there as a barber.
Yeah. And I went into a walk-in spot. Yeah. I would still probably deal with the same things.
I kind of want to put a camera on you and watch
I
that.
know. I know. Yeah. No, that would actually be a really cool, like, behind the scenes video.
It kind of would.
Yeah.
We'll mic you up and put a little camera on you.
Oh my God. I should probably do this.
Yeah. It's probably because I guess for
we
so
better get
long.
a shout out when you do it.
Yeah. Well, you will.
I guess for so long it's always been like a, you know, men barbering, right?
Oh,
and then,
of course.
and now you have, which is pretty cool because you see women just kind of taking over a lot of things in the hair industry, which is pretty cool. But I guess, you know, you got men that just kind of get so stuck in the way they're thinking that they don't think that, you know, maybe women can barber. And,
I'm kind of like on that same note, like my curiosity is it because you're a woman, right? Or is it because like they feel like you're violating the boy spot?
Yeah.
Do you kind of know what I mean?
Yeah. Maybe it's a mix of both for sure.
Yeah. Because I just, when you were talking like that, I was kind of like, well, I can't imagine him being rude just because on a sexist level. So I was like, on what other level could it be? You know, like, you know, maybe he's uncomfortable because he wants to go in there and talk shit about the Lakers or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I don't know. But anyways, why are we doing that? It's just kind of where I went.
Thanks, Corey.
So, yeah. Left field. Wow.
So then I guess at one point, did you start it where like all the men and guys around you were like, man, she got game?
Yeah. Okay. So I was working with like 11 barbers and I was the only female. So it was like, I mean, it was kind of like a dog eat dog world in there because you're trying to all get clients, and I had to learn how to kind of have a different packaging for my services, because that way when people are sitting, I mean, the shop was always full. People are sitting in chairs, people are waiting, so you can kind of see what everybody's doing when you're in the waiting area. So I was like one of the first people in that shop to go from walk-ins to appointments, because when it's so slammed, some of these people are waiting for like 6 hours. Like I remember one person waited for 6 hours, and of course you're like, what do you even do for you to be able to wait for 6 hours? Like, who can wait for 6 hours?
For a 15-minute haircut.
Yeah, and these were fast. And so I was like, okay, what could I do that's different? So it got so busy that I'm like, I think people are willing to pay a little more to secure a slot and not have to wait an hour. Like you come in 5 minutes prior and then you get in, you get out. And so people started doing that. And I think some of those people that were tired of waiting were like, hey, like that's an extra service like I would want to do, you know? And then I would start doing, I would start taking pictures of people. And so I had a whole like light stand. I'd take pictures of people. I just finished it differently, and people started to notice like, wow, like how come these people are getting a different kind of service here? Like I want some of that. So then people started paying attention. Then they knew like she puts in way more work than what a lot of these other people were getting. Right. So I just started to kind of market in that way within the shop.
So what year was this?
This was between 2011 and 2015.
This is amazing to me because this is like pre social media that we know today, right? This is like, you were kind of like, you were molding the game before there was a game.
Because 2012 is when I started Instagram. But it was only to create a portfolio of work to show these guys. So that way it's like, before you even decide, like this is at least like a picture portfolio of what I do.
So it's just like catalog essentially.
Yeah. That was the purpose of Instagram for me. It was just like to build a portfolio of better looking haircuts that I could say like, hey, this is what I can do, so that you don't have to like guess if I can cut hair or not.
It's a menu, right?
Yeah, there's a menu.
Menu of my services.
Some proof, you know. One guy actually asked me once, not in that first 4 years, but at the next shop that I went to, and I showed him, because he's like, well, it's not that I don't want to get a haircut from you, but like, can I see some of your work? I'm like, that's fair, you know. I show him my work, and he's like, so are these all yours? I'm like, dude, seriously? Come on. I just steal these from other people to make myself look good.
Well, remember though, back in the 80s, everyone had the same exact posters on the wall saying, can get that.
Yeah, exactly.
Or like, there's always those haircutting magazines.
Like the Ruzel's Barbershop.
Yeah, that's true.
There's always the catalogs that love like, you want this? You know? And then, so whatever happened to those? Never mind. Those magazines.
Right. So, okay. So I guess all the other 11 barbers, male barbers, they were like, man, I gotta start working like that in order to keep my book.
Right.
Did you start taking everybody's clients?
Well, it got weird because then a lot of their clients would shoot me a DM and be like, hey, is so-and-so in? Because if not, I'd like to come in, you know, and they kind of go sneak in.
Hey, he's off on Thursdays,
right? Yeah. Like, can I come in? And it was a little weird. I think they wanted to, but in barbershops, there's this weird like loyalty between people that, I mean, I don't really care. I'm like, if I'm not here and you want to go try somebody else, like you're more than welcome. Like I don't own anybody. But in barbershops, it's really weird sometimes in that whole thing.
It's kind of weird in hair salons too, though.
Is it?
It's kind of the same thing, you know, like, you know, you see a client across the thing, you know. What's she doing over there? You know, but it's more your own insecurity. Like, how could I service better? But
right.
But then if you're blowing the game up there, then they know exactly where they're falling short, right?
What was the hardest transition from like a cosmetology school to a barbershop?
The hardest thing, it was probably just the skill, learning the skill. I think, like what I see now, how people can improve in like fading, it's like triple the speed that you can pick it up because there's so much more education available for that. And back then, like there was only a few YouTube videos at the time that I would watch over and over again to try to understand. So for me, I think learning how to do like men's tight cuts, because in cosmetology school we didn't go that tight. It was like number 2 at most, like number 1. Squared sideburns. I hardly did any tapers or anything like that. But I think learning the skill was probably the most difficult for me because it took me, I mean, it's crazy because I think a lot of times now that people that are transitioning from cosmetology to barbering, I think there's like a weird timeline that people think that they could learn it. And for me, I mean, I went to a barbershop. So you're practicing back to back all day long. Like it's not like I was at a salon and I was taking a couple cuts every week. You know, I just completely switched over and you're just forced to do the same things over and over again. So eventually and naturally you're going to get better at it much quicker. And I was doing 6 days a week for 4 years. So if you try to add all those hours up and how many people you had to cut, like that's how long it took me. And I would say around 2 to 4 years was my like, okay, I think I understand what kind of haircuts, how to go about each of them. But from my 5th year up until now, which is, I think I'm approaching my 10th year, was all just like being able to finesse them and get them even tighter and get them cleaner, you know? So the process just kind of you don't really hit a spot. It just kind of evolves, you know?
Wow. Yeah, I can't imagine.
I know. That's
and also probably dealing with people, you know?
Yeah.
That's probably the hard
one,
part.
right?
Yeah.
That's mad respect.
That's great. When did you start blowing up on the grams? Because you said you started in 12 as a portfolio.
Yeah,
Then, like, when did you start to get
2012.
traction? And was it purposeful or did it just kind of happen?
It definitely just kind of happened. I don't think I ever planned that, you know, when I start Instagram, this is what I want it to be. It just kind of evolved.
But did you see it
time.
like then in 2013? You're like, oh, wait a second, this is getting a little bit more traction. And like, you know.
Yeah.
Did you ever become purposeful with it?
No. It just kind of, it definitely just kind of happened. So around, let's see, I started building my portfolio and then eventually by maybe the 3rd or 4th year, I got picked up by a product company. And that's when we started cross-promoting. So I would do videos, I would do photos for this product line, and then they would give me shout-outs over Instagram and stuff. So that was the first time I started cross-promoting with somebody else. And then from there, it gave me, I guess, a little bit more of like a confidence booster. Like, hey, like someone actually likes your stuff, and now they're able to put a product in your work to kind of push that. And so I started doing more with like the photography and the videography and stuff.
How'd you learn that?
Honestly, there was a feature on the camera that says you could record. I was like, I might as well learn it. It's there, right? So I was just I'm a super technology like nerd, so I like anything. Like if it could enhance my life by like 1%, I'm gonna probably invest in it. Right. And so I was just like learning about it, and this was like a basic like Canon camera at the time, and I maximized everything that I could out of that, you know, whatever it could do. Same with iPhones. I started doing with iPhones first, maximize everything that, then I upgraded a little bit more, and that's kind of the process of everything that I do with like cameras and stuff. It's like learning, maximizing what you can of the simple stuff, and then kind of growing into the next phase.
So you work it till it doesn't work for you anymore.
I'm like, I can't create beyond this. Like I need new equipment.
What's next?
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. What's next?
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, that's like our boy Gabe. He makes everything look so easy. I'm like, man, I feel like I'm all thumbs.
There's no doubt, man.
Some people they can just make it look so easy.
Yeah.
You know.
So what? So get on Instagram or the gram starts blowing up. You start blowing up a little bit, and then like, what was that like? Like, what was it like the first time like you're in a random spot and somebody goes, "Hey, aren't you Miss Gold?"
It's a little surreal still. Like,
Do you remember the first time it kind of caught you?
Yeah, the first time when you're by yourself, it's not as weird, but when it's with other people that you're with and it's like your friends and they're just like, who are you? Like, you know, and they see you in a different light. I think that's when it kind of hits you. But, you know, I just feel, it just makes me feel like, I guess, more encouraged to kind of like keep going down this path, because it's just like it's helping somebody somewhere for whatever reason, you know. Right. And it's a good feeling, because it just kind of motivates me. Like, all right, there's just more. I gotta go. There's way more.
Hey, I bet when you're with that estranged aunt, you're like, I hope somebody recognizes me.
Yeah, I know. My aunt definitely needs to experience it.
Yeah, you gotta bring it to a hair show.
Yeah, exactly. She's funny.
Look, I'm hosting.
I know.
She'd be behind the scenes like, hey, she's actually pretty popular here.
It was a good idea after all.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually wonder what they actually think. I should ask them again. Like, hey, remember that time?
You totally
what do you
should.
Feel about it now? I'm just curious.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Well, they'll come up with something else.
Yeah.
You know, you have too many tattoos.
Yeah.
Right. Speaking of tattoos, when did you get your first tattoo?
19. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
How long before you ran out of real estate?
I haven't ran out yet, but
Getting
I have
close.
maybe. Hopefully I can finish. I mean, I was trying to finish before 30, actually. I think the older you get, it just hurts way more. So I'm trying to finish hopefully within the next 2 years to just be completely done.
You have a game plan? Like, you know what, you know, like you know, Dre, like his is clearly like thought out.
Yeah.
You know, like, do you have like, is it all thought out, like where you're going to go next with the ink and stuff? Or
I
is it
can
just
think
kind
of like where, but I don't always have like what I would want exactly yet. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. You still getting more tattoos?
Yeah, I just got one the other day. Look.
Ooh, that's a nice spot.
It was brutal.
Do you use any like numbing cream or anything?
No, we just went. Well, I don't know what he used. He might have used something, you know, like when they use
like the sprays
lube.
and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I'm healing up today from it. So, but like you said, like the whole time I'm going, this might be my last tattoo.
Yeah, always. It's always like, why do I do this to myself?
Exactly, completely. Until I think
you have
like,
to coach yourself through it, though.
Like, and I sat for 7.5 hours, you know, and I'm like,
you're a champ.
for 7 hours, I'm like, stop,
I'm done at
tap
4.
out, tap out.
I'm done at 4.
At 4?
Yeah.
That's where you tap out? You haven't done a long spot, have you?
Nah, since my chest. We went Danny from,
Ugh.
it's been a while.
Yeah, it was brutal. You know, that's crazy.
Yeah, speaking of tattoos, like when I asked you how old you were, my first tattoo, oh my God, I might have been 13.
13.
But my mom had a
worse.
fit. Yeah. So we're at my uncle's house, right? And he was a part of this biker gang, and they're all like getting high, getting drunk, and giving each other these jailhouse tattoos.
And by the way, high, he means like green. Like, he doesn't mean like weed.
Like,
like PCP, like,
yeah,
you know, biker drugs.
These guys are on it. So my cousin and I were sitting there, and they're like, you boys want some of this? We're like, yeah, this is cool, right? 13 years old, you know. So we go down there, like, next thing you know, the next morning, you know, look at it, and it looks like a Harley Davidson bird that got ran over. It flew and hit my arm and it splatted. It looked nothing like it. My mom's like had a fit. She's like, what in the world? It was bad. It was bad.
Didn't she make you scrub it off?
No, well, a couple of years before that, they put like a little line, a little green, like cross, you know, just to see if I could take the pain. And yeah, so my mom took an SOS pad, gave it to me. She goes, scrub that off. And so I'm sitting there scrubbing that little tattoo off my arm.
Oh my God.
Then they had a cover up of like a splatted Harley Davidson.
It was bad. It was
Dang.
bad.
That's crazy. Hey, so were you always into art? Like, even
Art as in like tattoos and stuff?
no,
Or
just
art
like
in
when you were
general?
young, did you do any painting or any kind of that?
No.
How
I
in the-
can't draw.
Really?
I really can't. That's why I can't do hair tattoos and stuff. Like, it doesn't come natural. Like, if I had something, like if I trace something, I could probably follow it, but naturally I wouldn't be able to do like
You don't see
designs
it like that,
and stuff
right?
like that. Yeah.
Like Rob.
Yeah. What Rob does is incredible. Like, that's a gift for sure. The last design I did though was kind of funny. This kid wanted a star. I'm like, stars, you can draw that on paper, right? It's super simple.
Except I don't know how to draw a star without doing like the crossovers.
That's what I did. I was like, that's exactly what I did in his hair. I did it exactly how I would imagine doing it on paper. And it ended up looking like Patrick from SpongeBob on the side of this kid's head. And you know, when people do designs, they know how to blend that in to the hair and the rest of it, and they do a border. But mine was just like a nice little fade, and then this big ass hole where the star was.
A star hole.
I couldn't even show him the mirror because the arms were like up here and not here, right? So I'm like, oh, look at your hair. I only show him from the front, so he can't really see it. Like, I'm like, see ya.
You're like, that's dope.
That was the last one I ever did.
Did you ever see that kid again?
No, I never did. I'm like, it's okay, I get it.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. I'm going to Stay Gold to get a funky fresh haircut.
Oh yeah.
No, you got a star hole.
Yeah, you really did. Oh man,
Got a Patrick.
Bad.
Right.
It was literally a starfish for sure.
Oh my God, that's so
I was
funny.
like, wow, okay. That moment, I was like, even more, because I still remember all the time, like, Rob, you are a beast because you do perfect stars of just like through the regular outline, like perfect every single time.
I mean, perfect is like, it's not Rob the original, it's Rob the perfect, right? Like those salt sculptures and stuff. I mean, those salt drawings and stuff.
I know.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
insane.
Even the horse tattoos, right? The dog.
Yeah, those horse ones are getting better now since he started doing them more often.
Yeah, no doubt. And they were dope to begin with,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I just, every time I watch him do it, I'm so scared somebody's going to get kicked.
I know. Like, I'm like, what if those trimmers bite a little bit?
I know, right?
I always wonder, but yeah.
No more Rob.
Yeah. He's putting his life at risk every time.
I know, right? That's so crazy.
Pepper bites, horse bites.
Horse kicks. They're so dope, though. Those
Yeah, those Versace
I know.
heads and
It's
stuff.
really crazy.
And I mean, I guess we can get into that. I mean, man, what's happened to the Barber game in the last 5 years? I mean, at least it's been in
crazy.
my eyes for the last 5 years. You know, if Rob from Ruzel was here, he would be yelling at me that it never died. You know, but certainly in the last 5 years, it's
for
like
sure.
escalated like crazy, man.
For reasons of like Sofies, you know what I mean? Their Instagram has just made it so cool and so relevant.
Yeah, completely.
You know,
And probably a lot like I've talked a couple times on the podcast, like, you know, when Instagram took off, like, you know, before that we had a couple people that worked on stage, you went to see them, yada, yada, yada. And then, like, as soon as Instagram took off, you're like, oh my God, there's such incredible talent in this country. It's not just the people that are performing in the stores, just on the stages, you know, people behind the chair are killing
for
too.
sure.
So, you know, it must be the same thing kind of with the barbering, right?
Yeah.
Like you had like all these little stars, but now it was a place to kind of get together and communicate together.
Oh, exactly. And also, too, it's just like Instagram for sure has helped us kind of like blow it up and stuff like that. But it almost like even reminds me of like the reason why I kind of like talk about the things that I talk about is because it still branches from like the beginning where I remember, I think it was when I just started and people are like, what do you do for work? You know, it was just like a random question. I'm like, oh, I'm a barber. And it was just like, no one really cared. No one really respected the craft. I mean, my own family didn't even really believe in it either. So through the process of just like being able to create content, like I wanted people to see like, this is something that is difficult. Like it is hard. Like we even didn't even have like respect from like cosmetologists at the time. Like I remember that first few years, like people were just like, oh, you guys are barbers. Like nobody really cares. You know, like anybody could do it, fades or whatever. And then once they got into it and tried to do it themselves, it's like they started to realize it. And we had people even in the audience sometimes that were like, hey, I'm a cosmetologist, and I actually didn't trust. They would admit to it. As some of them, like, you know, I didn't believe in the craft at first until I got into it, and now I'm here to kind of just like support it. And you started seeing that more often. And then even now it's just like I love seeing that people are like opening up and reaching out, and they find, I guess, like hope in my pages to kind of like if they wanted to enter it from whatever different backgrounds they come from. Like a lot of them were like corporate people that were like, you know, I started seeing what you were doing, and it's just like you created like hope for them to kind of pursue it because they were afraid of it at one point, maybe that it wasn't going to pay it off, you know, if you invested that much. But I think that the more that we kind of just keep pushing within our, our local spaces, I mean, eventually that's going to infect everybody else and all the new people that are coming into it.
Sure.
It's awesome being able to impact people's lives like that.
Oh,
It's
for
crazy.
sure.
And just think about, like, you were saying that you were getting the respect from the Cosmos, but like right now, like the Cosmos got to keep up with the barbers, right? Because everybody wants to fade,
Yeah.
and that's a whole different game,
Yeah.
And like I think too, like just what we were talking about earlier, how especially in Cosmo school or cosmetologists are scared to fade. Like I think it's just like a different visual line, right?
Yeah.
Like I think in hair school we're taught to cut hair this way,
Right.
right?
It's just like a tighter graduation now,
Right. But you're also looking inside the head as opposed to like, what's happening on the ends of the hair. Right? Am I right here?
And you don't know enough about no barber, man.
I don't know nothing about nothing.
you
That's why I'm talking to
color.
Sofie, man. I don't know nothing about nothing.
But what's cool too is seeing the two sides merging too. It's intertwining, and you know what I mean. Like the show it here, we are BTC show, right? I mean, you see the Sofies, you see
Maddie Conrads,
yeah, the
and
Maddie
the Barbers.
Conrads. You see all the hairdressers, and everybody's like kind of like blending this together.
It's becoming one industry.
Yeah.
Right?
It's about
Yeah.
hair, right? At the
Yeah.
end of the day, it's not about fades, or it's not about braids, or it's not about what I mean. It's hair.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool.
That's very,
Yeah,
very,
that's the thing I'm super stoked to see all the time is the cross. Because I mean, now you have women's haircuts that incorporate an undercut or somewhere, or where it's shaved underneath and it's going into like a bob. But then also it's like guys' haircuts that are longer but super tight on the side, but still really long on top. So you kind of almost are forced to kind of learn a little bit of both now.
Right.
I don't even really know, honestly, in my whole career, I don't even know what the difference between the two are. Why is there two different licenses? Why is there something called
Right.
barbering?
I wish there was just a one for all.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah, you should learn fading in cosmetology school.
And I think you're seeing more of it. I mean, as men, especially with like the Vivets and stuff, more and more men are doing vivid colors. We saw Mikey T's last night. I mean, who's more vivid than that?
Yeah.
But like you're seeing the vivid colors, so I think like it's going to force like barbers into that, what equivalent to our fade world, right? Like to do
for
more
sure.
color and stuff like that.
You had Johnny and Gabe collabing, right?
Oh, that's right. Johnny and they did that collab with that was a lot of barbering and color together.
Yeah.
So you brought it up a little bit earlier. Like, do you feel a role model both as a woman and as an Asian woman?
Probably. Yeah.
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 So what are those conversations like?
Those are, I mean, I've had people get pretty emotional over it, that are most of the time just not even like the Asian part, but just like being a woman in barbering, because I think they for them to know like I struggled with the same thing, I think gives people comfort. And that's why I kind of share those things, because it's like, I mean, easily most people just share all the good sides of everything that we do, and that's all great and all, but I think when you actually talk about things that kind of bring out like it wasn't easy to get there. Like you had to go through a certain amount of things for it to make sense, that it gave them comfort to kind of like know like this is hard right now, but if you allow yourself to go through it and you allow yourself to feel what you need to feel, you're going to be better for that next phase. Because if you don't allow that, you don't build the
Like the foundation of
the
it?
foundation, or how to deal with that next group of whatever
Challenges.
you got. The challenges, because the challenges are never going to stop. Like you're going to get a new series at each level, but the only way for you to get to a point to where you can learn how to deal with those like obstacles is being able to conquer those previous ones, because you learn lessons in each of those things and then you apply them to the next, and then you learn a new set and then you apply it to the next. So it's kind of like a never-ending process,
Right.
I think that's the takeaway right there,
Yeah.
man. You know what I mean?
That was the golden nugget.
That was
Right.
that was the Stay
But
Gold
it's tr-
nugget.
Yeah.
That's too easy, Sofie. Yeah, that's pretty good. I like
That's
that.
funny.
Yeah, it's we've talked. it's funny as you start to mature, it's like just getting comfortable with what you were once uncomfortable with.
Yes.
You know, and then but what's ahead of you? More uncomfort. You
Right.
know, more
Right.
stuff, and then just how to
You
how to
get
break
better
it.
at being uncomfortable.
Exactly, and you get weirdly you get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah,
right?
it's almost
okay,
like, oh, this
is a
doesn't
familiar
feel right,
space.
but this is good.
It's a familiar space.
It's like
Yeah,
talking
exactly.
on stage. How was it when the first time you talking on stage?
yeah.
Oh, so bad, horrible. I remember.
Where was it?
This was Long Beach. Long Beach ISSE.
Yeah. What year?
This was, let's see, what's 4 years ago? 4 years ago.
15.
15? Okay, yeah.
So,
That one was hard.
so did they ask you to do it, or did you something that you always wanted to do, or?
So this kind of goes back to what you said about like struggles and stuff. I think when you actually realize the things that you're most afraid of or that you struggle the most usually become something that you could be really good at one day if you actually like attack it. Public speaking has been my downfall for all my life. I think like even doing it in school where you had to introduce like a random person, like that would make me shiver and like I just lose words. And so I remember right before I got picked up with Babyliss, I was doing Toastmasters. Have you seen? You guys have heard of that?
Yeah.
I did it once. I was like, I need to get better at this. I started taking interpersonal communications in college. I would take them at different college campuses to kind of understand like the way, because people teach them differently. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I did that to kind of understand, because I knew like communication was something I struggled with so much, and that's not even just communicating with coworkers, but like within yourself. I think that's kind of the core. And once you figure that, it kind of makes sense in how it applies to people around you. And I remember, I think just putting that energy out at that time of wanting to be better at it. Right. I think Babyliss came out around that time, was like, hey, we're building a barbering team. We'd like you to be a part of it. And in that moment, I did think, I was like, this was the universe telling me like, this is your way of like getting over that fear. So it wasn't even about educating it. It was about getting over just like public speaking. And so I did one Toastmasters right before that to kind of like just kind of get into it a little bit. And it was a struggle of I think just talking in front of people, especially now when you're talking about it in front of other professionals who most of the time have cut longer than I have. So that pressure of just going in, a little bit younger than everybody, it was a little bit harder to kind of like gain like respect from if they didn't know me or anything like that. So that first show, like, I mean, you plan so much and you're trying to cram what you're going to talk about. And not only because you're not up there by yourself, you're up there with other people. So you have to segue and make it. And there's also challenges in talking with people. And there was a lot of times where I would just like mid-sentence, just blank. I'm like, so this is why I like it. It just doesn't even make sense, but I was just filling in space,
And I would tell all of our listeners, that if, I'm just going to go kind of through the story that we just recap, but to me, it's all about respect, right? First, you didn't have the respect of your family to choose this career. You didn't have the respect of the other 11 barbers or the customers in that all-male barbershop, right? Now here you are, you're about to go on stage with Babyliss. You feel like you don't have the respect of the audience because you're younger, you know what I mean? You're going on through, and everything that you went through, I mean, you challenge yourself. I mean, a lot of people would be so afraid, or, after the first thing, listen to their parents, or after the second thing, getting beat down in an all-male barbershop. Eventually some people would stop. But you just kept pushing through, like you just like boom, knock down that wall, and here you are now. You're on some of the biggest stages in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and now
crazy.
It's all respect, because when Sofie does something, we all have our eyes on it. You know what I mean? Because it's all about the art. It's about what you're doing. It's what you're seeing. And dude, that's phenomenal.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
That's pretty crazy. Going back to 2015, what was it like sitting side stage right before you went up? Were you just dying?
Oh yeah, you just get like stomach aches like all day. It's just like it never goes away, and you're just like you literally just sweating the whole time, we would get so sweaty up there, all of us, because everyone was kind of new.
Right.
And
the new team, right?
yeah, it was a new team. The only person that wasn't new was Rob. Rob had already been on the team, but Rob was on the team before the barbering team was created. So he was on like the regular stylist side.
That's why he's the original.
He really is.
That's crazy. Do you still get the butters?
Yeah, it goes away. I mean, it's not that it goes away. You just get better at handling your nerves, but I still get nervous every time. Yeah, but it's more controlled now.
Right.
With just a lot of the practice that we've had.
Well, you can't tell. So
Thank you. It's good to know. And even if I forget now, I have just ways of just saying stuff where it doesn't really make sense, but it sounds like it makes sense, you know?
Right, yeah. Because we don't know what you're trying to say.
I'm like, you guys don't know either, so whatever I say, you're going to believe.
Is that the fake it till you make it thing?
Exactly.
Right. Well, she already made it, so
yeah, right. We're good friends with Ben Mullen, and Ben Mullen has the Ben Mullen Project. You know about this? He's doing a public speaking course for just the hair industry.
Oh, nice. That's really awesome.
Cool. Yeah, Ben's a good dude. So there's a little shout out to Ben Mullen and the Ben Mullen Project.
But a lot of people who've been through his speaking series, they said it's totally changed their lives as far as public speaking. And I'm
definitely doing one.
Yeah, that's a really good thing to offer, because I don't think we have enough of that, you know.
And he's a hairstylist, you know. So like,
even better. Yeah.
Were you at? Did you go to LTC this year?
Mm-mm.
Oh, because he hosted that down in Orlando.
Oh, okay.
So yeah. So he has good gigs too. You know, hosting it.
Yeah, I would highly recommend anybody to take that then, because it's going to help you with even like your consultations and just everything, just being able to be more comfortable with that.
Yeah, the whole thing is he takes you out of your comfort, and it's like
that's amazing.
Pretty.
You've taken it?
No, but as we're about to take it, but it's the way he explained it, and the way you're totally out of your comfort, but at the same time, he takes you out and he allows you to get back in there. So we're pretty stoked.
Yeah, I think he like beats you into being uncomfortable, and then you're like, see, you're not that uncomfortable.
Yeah.
In comparison, right? Oh, shout out to Ben. That's crazy.
So what's next for Sofie? I mean, what's the future?
What's next?
Hold on. Before we push her into where she wants to go, bro, what's up with your clippers that are coming out? Because they look dope.
They're awesome, actually. I'm super happy with it. That one we found out about this about a year ago.
Explain to people listening what it is.
So I've been with Bayless Company for almost 4 years, and we just announced our influencer collection, including me, Rob, and Hawk. There's 3 different colorways for the gold clipper that most people have seen. Or have. And we have, what's really big about this one is that for the longest time, they didn't put any artist faces in with the name of the brand and stuff. So this is also really huge for them, as it is for us, to kind of like, I guess, reward the people that have been working like their asses off to kind of like push for the tools to, promote and what we do. So it was a really cool thing that we had the opportunity to have our faces on all these boxes, which is insane. So I haven't showed my mom yet, and I'm gonna record how that whole thing is gonna go down, because she doesn't understand what I even do today. She just knows like whatever it is, you're fine. That's all she knows. So I think it's going to be a really funny reaction to see her.
You're gonna wrap it up. You're gonna go
see my aunt.
You have to, right?
Definitely.
You're gonna wrap it up like a gift.
Yeah.
And then have her unwrap it.
Yeah. And then just see like, what do you feel about it? Like, what do you think this is? Because I asked her over the phone the other day. I'm like, Mom, do you know what a clipper is? She's like, no. I'm like, perfect. I'll see you soon.
There's a package coming.
That's right. So that's the future.
So Rob has a color.
Rob's got the white one. Hawk's got the red one, and then I have the black one. And all of them have different blades that come with it.
No.
So that's also a different feature. I have a fade blade on mine. It's a new blade that we haven't had before. The outside graphite We had a set before, but I don't think that was out yet. But now we have a new cutting blade for mine that's on the inside cutting blade, and it makes it really, really nice. Hawk has a different fade blade that was previously seen on the 673s that we had before. They're called a Lithium FX. And then Rob has the original tapered blade on his. So you get a little bit different. And what's cool is like we have different color levers and a different color bottom ring. So people can interchange them and make it a different color if they want to. So you can kind of collect it from different people and then adjust it as you want. So you can customize. Yeah, you can kind of customize it a little bit. Mm-hmm.
That's tight.
Hey, not to step on your black ones, but have you seen the custom cases that people are doing over them?
Custom cases?
On these guys, on the gold ones?
Oh, yeah.
Those
cool.
are kind of dope, man. I love those custom cases. You have, Gabriel has one for his walls, like the wood case.
Oh, the wood cases. Yeah, I've seen those.
Cool.
Yeah, those are nice because you can kind of engrave them and do all that.
Yeah, it's kind of cool how like there's a business within the business, right?
Yeah,
like
there's a lot of those people now that do all the custom stuff.
I dig that. Speaking of tattoos, it's kind of like that, right? Right. Customizing them with the tattoos. So other than the clippers, what's going
on? Let's see. Other than the clippers, something else is coming out next year. Can't say yet, but March.
Be aware. March 2020.
Yeah, March 2020 is going to be big. And then I am releasing a new class series. Probably what month are we in? August? September. So sometime in September, I'm going to finally announce a new class series that I'm doing.
Is that something that'll be live or is it,
in person?
Be on the intranets?
Yeah, it'll be in person. I'm going to be traveling with it. There's not that many. I'm only doing a few a year so that it's like more special,
Yeah, I get it.
Because I mean, as much as we do a lot of classes based on techniques and stuff, this is something where I'm offering a little bit more where it's like, you guys are all getting a sneak peek of what's coming. Yeah. So this class will be geared, of course, for techniques and just helping people understand it, but there is a huge segment that I want to talk about, just like building like your own self-awareness, building just being able to be more mindful of things, because I think when I think about what has helped me get here, it's not like learning the skill set that's natural, but I think what helped me a lot was just like reprogramming my thoughts and just like believing that you can, because that's the main thing. Because like you said before, like most people stop at that first part. Your family doesn't support it. Now I don't know what to do.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's going to include a little bit deeper, because I feel like, and making people actually do uncomfortable things, because I think that is going to help you just not only in work, but like in life, to kind of just push yourself through a lot of things that are always going to be uncomfortable.
All right, I'm in. Just let me know the first class.
You're going to be there.
So are these classes going to be, will they be like one-offs, or are they going to be like at like Premiere or something like that? Will you travel it with the salon?
By itself.
By itself,
yeah.
So it'll be one. Wow,
yeah.
I can't wait.
So I'm doing like a 2-day course of just like it's small and intimate. I've always been more of a fan of just like smaller classes.
Sure.
The larger ones, I mean, there's just too many people. I want to be able to be a little bit more hands-on with like individuals. I'm building like these really super kits for each person. So it'll be like, because for me, it's like, if I'm going to teach you how to do something, it would make more sense to me that you'd be using similar tools. And if not, it does get hard, because I've done a lot of hands-on classes where people are using different things and they don't always add up the same. So,
sure.
I mean, if I saw someone do any kind of job and they were using certain tools at work, I would assume that I would want that too.
Seriously, I'm in.
I know.
It's going to be pretty awesome. I'm actually really excited to finally like
when does that
talk
start?
about that. My first class will be in LA, actually. I feel like it's where I'm from, so I should do it there first. It'll be in the first weekend of November. Oh,
like in a couple months.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
so I'm announcing it. Yeah. I need to put it out soon.
You just did.
Yeah. Right. There you go. That's out. It's out. We can talk about it now.
So this is an awkward, like clever segue. So to find out about those classes, Sofie, where would one find it? Instagram and Stay Gold.
Yeah, Instagram actually. I'll post it on Instagram. There'll be like, I already filmed like a whole commercial for it, for IG TV. It'll be on there.
So do you have other cities lined up too?
The other cities are still are still being selected, but they'll be like probably major cities around the U.S. first.
Like DC?
I don't know.
New
I don't know
York?
yet. New York for sure. New York is probably for sure.
We'll have to make that trip up then. We'll take the train up.
Yeah, seriously, I want to take the class.
I think everybody does, right?
Yeah, it's literally, I'm excited because it's a collective of just everything that I've ever learned, all the right doll heads that people should be cutting on that are going to actually help. Because, I mean, that's a huge thing with like a lot of barbering courses. There's actually a lot of doll heads that aren't equipped for it, but I have come across a few that I think are really, really good. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Awesome. That's probably why we don't learn clippering in cos school.
Right.
You try to cut those.
Oh yeah, you're cutting a smooth line, and then it looks like you have a line, you know, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Can do. And like even when like the hair is so separated that like even when you start clippering it, you're like, oh, they just made her bald.
Yeah. There's like all sorts of cowlicks and everything. So people are like already discouraged, like, damn, I just suck then. And it's like, it's not you, it's the doll head.
Or like 6 hairs coming out of the same follicle.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like, oh, what's that?
It's like a plug.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah. I'm super excited for that one just because it's like, I don't know, the other aspects of like just building like your mind, I think is like so huge. That's
so cool. And I think that there's so much, we're seeing a lot more of that going on right now. It's obvious to me that the next transition in our industry is that, like, even the posts that you see is like, you know, the empowerment of each other and the empowerment of oneself.
Yes.
So, in almost an Elizabeth Fay way, but even like on a daily basis, you see a lot of like even posts on Instagram about, you know, how you deal with this client or the proper way to deal with a client or to deal with this situation or each other.
So what is it? How can people find you? What is your tag? Your handle?
My handle is Stay Gold 31 on Instagram. I think it's still Stay Gold 31 on Facebook. And then YouTube is Sofie Stay Gold.
Sofie Stay Gold.
I'm going to relaunch, actually. Oh, that's another project that I'm working on. YouTube. I know I've been going back and forth, and I'm sure everyone does, of like, I'm too late in the game to enter. Like, honestly, like, you can get in at any time and it's just work. It's just more consistent work that you have to do. But I'm going to do a whole YouTube series on a bunch of different things that kind of go beyond of just like hair cutting, because I feel like all my hair cutting stuff is all geared in Instagram anyways, so I wanted to build like a different concept for YouTube and maybe go more into just like the common questions that people do ask me. It's just more informational of just like, you know, like the questions about just like being Asian and doing hair, you know, stuff like that, where it's like it's more storytelling through like the journey versus like, you know, I'm going to teach you how to do a fade.
What's the number one question you get?
Number one question is, I just got out of school, or it's just mostly like being new. Like, I'm new. I just did my first haircut and it sucked. Like, do I give up?
Of course not.
Of course not. Exactly.
You're like, listen to that Hairdustry podcast. Look at the shit I went through.
Right. Go to this link right here. Like, literally, I'm just gonna have it saved, and so when people ask me a question, like, link.
Right.
Life story.
Yeah.
Life story.
Boom. Awesome.
Miss Soph, dude, I can't thank you enough for sharing with our listeners and coming in and hanging out with us and sharing your story and being a tad vulnerable and all that stuff, dude.
Yeah,
we
thank you.
Really appreciate it.
And we're going to end it with mad respect.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys. Like, I mean, these type of podcasts I think are always really great for the community and the industry, because it allows you to kind of dig a little deeper than what we always see online of more finished projects and all that stuff. So, you know, what you guys are doing, I mean, spending all this time to be here and do all this, I think you guys are really helping a lot of people.
Dude, we appreciate that. We've talked about this again a couple of times on the podcast too, but it's like, you know, when you see the Instagram, when you see Sofie today, you know, you see the end result. Not that it's the end, but, you know, whatever that result is at that moment is the end of that journey, but it's not the journey, right? So we, you know, by this long format, you know, we kind of get to share the journey, you know, and that's kind of
the struggles and, you know, and the successes.
Well, even to our point that there are no successes without the struggles. You know, success is on the other end of struggle. It's not in the struggle, you know. So,
mad respect.
Thank you.
That's it. That's it.
Seriously, I am taking the class.
You're like, give me the ticket now.
Now.
I want to be the first one to pay.
Yeah, no doubt. Story there. That's awesome. Sophie, once again, thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for giving us your time, and thanks for getting up, early on your level for us.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us on your day off. Hey, so there it is. Hey, this is a message that we've been trying to bring, I don't know, for the last couple months, actually since we started the podcast. Hey, so if you like the podcast or if you find that it's useful, please leave us a review, a 5-star review on iTunes. Leave us a rating and a review.
But if you don't like it, forget about it.
Yeah, totally forget about this message. We also want to thank Sarah and Blaine from Pretty Gritty. Sarah and Blaine, they are a band out of Portland, Oregon, and we just want to thank them very much for allowing us to use their song, Pleased to Meet You, on our podcast. That's cool. I think you can find, actually you can find their music on iTunes.
Peace and hair grease.